Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Legacy Circle. This is episode 3, and we have Chef Vicky with us.
Hey, girl.
All right, so today we're just going to talk about, I think, with me, what stood out from you and looking at your content was authenticity. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
And then branding, just to kind of give our audience some knowledge about getting into content creation.
Of course.
All right. So I first want to just have you introduce yourself and your story, just so we can get to know you a little better.
Okay, sweet. So I'm Chef Vicky V. The V came because somebody in marketing told me a long time ago. They were like, the V sounds cute. And I just kind of said it, and now it's stuck with me. So it's Chef Vicky V, the Queen of Yum. I'm a cultural and brand enthusiast in food, beverage, and hospitality. So that's what I am, and I've practiced that a long time. At first, I didn't know.
That's a mouthful.
I didn't know. I was like, well, what am I doing out here? Somebody told me, well, you're a cultural and brand enthusiast. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Well, she said you're a brand enthusiast, and then I added the cultural because I was like, to me, culture is the most important thing that we own as individuals. Like, it is the kind of like the gumbo, the root of where we come from, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so I'm a cultural brand enthusiast, and then I was like, and what? And I was like, food, beverage, and hospitality. So that's me. In a nutshell, a lot of people will say I'm a blogger. Really not a blogger. Got introduced into the blogging world.
Okay.
By happenstance, but definitely not a blogger for sure, because I don't write that many blogs. So there's that.
But you document.
I do document.
Yeah.
Visually, I try to document as much as possible. Again, I was just talking about the fact that now we are asked to be a whole production team.
Yeah.
The editors, the videographers, the producers, the everything. The script writers, and it's like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And people are out here doing it. A lot of people do have teams, right? Or even if it's 1 or 2 people, because it's a lot. But we're uplifting a lot, and also asked to be mothers, asked to be, girlfriends and wives and CEOs and all the other things. So yeah.
Getting into it, did you know it was going to be so much involved in it?
I had no clue. I was literally just sitting on the couch, and my old roommate was like, hey, you want to go to this Houston Food Bloggers Collective meeting? It's the first one. We just started this thing. And I'm like, okay. So absolutely not. And even now, even when it comes to branding or marketing and things like that, I'm still learning. And I am not beneath asking somebody. We have a new wave of influencers that just kind of emerged on the Houston scene, and they're doing some great work, really. Yeah. And I even reached out to one of them the other day, as they called me the OG. I'm like, I'm not trying to be old and stagnant, though. So I said, hey, I'm going to hit one of y'all up. Like, what do I need to learn? Where do I need to be? You know what I'm saying? Because I always want to be competitive, and I feel like if I had to let my ego, like, man, these little new kids. But no, they know. They're doing wonderful work, so why not ask them? I think that's wisdom in itself,
I think that's a beautiful thing, and I've learned that myself, too, in going into different spaces. I mean, you have to acknowledge what's already been there, right?
Yeah.
But it's always evolving. You have to go with the flow. You have to, and someone else is going to pick up something that you didn't necessarily see, right? Because we didn't know that Instagram was going to flourish like this. We didn't know how far it was going to go.
And let me tell you something, though. Your girl knew. Let me tell you why. I was not listening, though. So, I used to, as an entrepreneur, you do a lot of different things. So, at one point, I was driving for Uber. And I loved Uber, though. I made so many connections. I had some hot little hookups. Like, I did everything, baby. I used the Uber from the Rooster to the Tuna, okay? It was a fun time. But during that one specific Uber ride, it was like this young little white girl. She was like in tech or something, and I had dropped her off a far away. She was going to like the airport. She's like, I'm traveling for work, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, and we were just talking. She was like, okay, I know. Have you ever heard of Instagram? And I was like, girl, hell no. And she said, oh, no, lies, TikTok.
Okay.
She was like, have you ever heard of TikTok? And I'm like, heck no. She was like, oh my God, you should get on there and just start posting stuff. I'm like, posting what? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. And so I did not listen to her.
Yeah.
If I had started posting on TikTok, now,
TikTok, or was it Vine right at the time? Or?
No, it was TikTok.
TikTok, okay.
I remember, I thought it was Instagram, but now I'm thinking about what actually happened. It was TikTok.
Okay.
And she was like, get on TikTok. And you just start posting. Well, in my mind, as a creator, and I think this is something that I struggle with, is interesting we're going to be talking about branding.
Yeah.
Because my brand is really... I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I do things that people think are things. Like, I'll do like an interview and they're like, oh, that's a thing. She's a host. Right? And so they'll give me this title, or they'll put a title on the things that I'm naturally doing in life.
Yeah.
So for me, somebody was like, you have a brand. I'm like, okay, well, what is it? Because I'm just doing me.
Yeah.
Right? But again, you can brand yourself around what you're doing. The thing about me is I like so much. I'm a big black girl in the world. Big dark-skinned black girl. And for sometimes that doesn't matter, and I guess sometimes it does, right? It's the world we live in. But that being said, the box that people look at me and see is never the box that I'm in. Yeah. Now, I've also used this as a superpower, right? Because I realized that people are only going to go as far, most people are only going to go as far as my outer appearance or what they meet, first impressions, that whole 9. But I'm so much more layered and depthy. And I also have had so many different experiences than what I physically appear as, right? I've been traveling the world since I was 2. My dad's lived all over the world. My mom's lived all over the world. We've traveled. We've eaten. My mom was talking about stuff. That's my phone. Oh. My mom was talking about things that my mom actually was doing culinary techniques in our house. I had no clue about. My mom started putting cream in grits, like, in the 90s.
Yeah.
Why? What made her do it? I don't know. Right? Because I was tasting her. I'm like...
Okay, so I don't know much about grits. I'm not from the South.
Okay.
But, so was it not like that thing before?
No.
Was it just like butter and grits?
And water.
Okay.
Butter and water. And, I mean, a good solid grit. But, I mean, when you put cream in it, it takes it to another level.
Yeah.
And she was doing this in the 90s.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm eating her grits, and I'm like, what is... I said, well, why? And I ate her grits, and I was like, these are so good. And one day, I'm like, why are your grits so good? She said, girl, come in here. I put cream in my grits. I'm like, holy shit. And then you saw this emergence of brunch. And then it was probably maybe, I would say a solid 3 years, because it's still some people on Instagram like, girl, you was not putting cream in your grits. But most of them got it down to this point through TikTok.
Yeah.
Thank you, girl. From TikTok, they now all put cream in the grits, right? Yeah. They all put cream in the sauces. We creamed out, right? We know how to make cream sauce at this point. If you don't, God bless. Yeah. But yeah, so it's stuff like that. I was on swim team my whole life. I mean, a middle class family, but with parents that were very intentional about exposure.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Which is...
And where did that come from? Just them wanting you to see a bigger world type of thing? Or?
I think my mom, I have to give credit to her for that. Yeah. She was truly a maverick. And I don't even think she knows it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think she knows it. And I don't even know if I tell her as much. Right? Because I'm thinking to myself, like, she was just before her time.
Yeah. And
now that I'm looking back, I'm like, wow. She was reading. She was a, life. It's interesting looking at her now, and I feel like, she looks at me and she's like, you're doing all these things, and I think she wanted to do more. But I think with that generation, they were told family first. She started a marketing agency in the 90s. She had a contract with Metro, and she was like, it was going to be, I have to choose my family. I have to choose building a a empire.
Yeah.
She had a couple of opportunities to do that, and she always chose us, which I'm glad that she did.
Not to kick you off, but how many of you guys is it, like, in your family? Oh, okay.
It's only 2 of us. It's not a lot. But me and my brother.
Yeah.
But she chose to be a mom.
Yeah.
And I think that had she been born today, she would have been an amazing woman. I think she would have learned that it was okay to balance and do both. But back then they weren't told that. They were told you had to do the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, which is sad because I'm like, what could you have been? Which is a part of the reason why I continue to push. And even I push her, and I will be, even me saying out loud, I'll continue to push her, you know, to, hey girl, you could be whatever you want to be, because she had it. She has it. It never left.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah.
I like that. Well, I think it actually reminds me of I told you my mom's out here right now, and it reminds me of my relationship with her, because I'm not very vocal, so I think sometimes I'm like, I want to push her, but I think sometimes too, I'm my mom's only child, so I think the dynamic, and it's starting to switch now that I have a child, and I'm kind of seeing it in her, but she doesn't want to let go. And I'm starting to see it kind of unfold, and where it's like, okay, now you as a child, of course you've taught them, right? You've taught them stuff in you growing up, but now it's changing, and the cards are flipped where now you're teaching them stuff. But you have to do it in a language that they're going to understand and relate to, because it is a different generation. Yeah. So you obviously have tried tons of restaurants everywhere.
Yeah.
Houston, what is maybe like the top 3 or a guide of Houston food scene?
Okay, so my top 3 right now are the toasted coconut Soto, which is Japanese and black owned. You know what? I wouldn't necessarily go to a restaurant. I would go with chefs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Chef Mason is one of my favorite chefs. He was just left Culture. He was there doing a stay, you know, as a chef there. So that was pretty cool to see him do that. There's some really talented chefs. Chef Michelle Wallace of Between the Slices. I love her. Her food is really great. Chef Dawn Burrell. She's amazing. There's a lot of talented chefs. So I'm more chef driven. Restaurants are cool. I haven't gone to like some of the other ones. Like I haven't even been to Honey Hole yet. That's black owned. So I still have some more eating and exploring to do. Yeah. But as far as, I mean, solid black owned. I mean, the Breakfast Club is solid and black owned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's consistent. So, yeah.
Okay. Is there any place maybe you went to as a kid? Or
as a kid? You know what? We used to go to This Is It as a kid. Like after church. When it was still in 4th Ward. Yeah. This Is It. Soul Food.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And actually, I went to This Is It. I was with one of my colleagues. And they were doing some taping over there, and I tasted fried chicken. I was like, oh, this is good. You know, I think more so it's about consistency.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's very hard when you have so many people to stay super consistent. So yeah, but yeah, This Is It, Lucille's. I mean, you have vegan, you have Mo Better Brews, you have Sunshines, which is always solid for vegan and healthy choices. You have some places on the north side that are pretty good. I mean, you know, there's a lot to explore. There's some great bloggers and influencers and people who are telling you about where to go and what to do and what to eat.
Yeah.
So yeah, but as far as food is concerned, those would be my top 3
Those two. Okay. And then as far as, okay, so earlier. No, go ahead.
I was going to say Chinatown is always a vibe.
Chinatown?
I like Asian flavors, though.
Yeah.
Like, I love them. So, I mean, I'm going to be a little partial to that. But my favorite cuisine is Lebanese.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. I love Lebanese food. There's a place called Ladino in San Antonio. That's great. It's led by Chef Tavel and his team. Yeah. And he's a black pastry chef. He is solid. But that's like, Lebanese is my favorite.
Huh. Okay. Okay, so earlier you mentioned something about a plate, right? That you were talking about grits, but you also kind of mentioned like something about a plate that you wanted to leave behind.
Yeah.
So what would be that plate where it's like, I want generations to come to still cook this?
So I made a dish called hot slaw. And basically it is a collard green slaw. Okay. For Juneteenth. It's spicy, but it's sweet, it's pickled. Yeah, I think it embodies a lot, you know. I wish I could incorporate like maybe some type of watermelon flavor in there, just because it would really speak to, you know, like watermelon and collard greens or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Maybe like a watermelon vinaigrette to put on it, or something like that. But no, it's really good. It's healthy, it's nourishing, but it's also really good and something that you can put on a side, you know, instead of like coleslaw.
Yeah.
Hot slaw, because it's a little spicy too. So, that would be really nice for people to call it that, and then for it to be like people to make it and you know, really hone in on it for like Juneteenth or Kwanzaa or just the weekend.
Just bring it, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I would really like to see that. That would be amazing. And then I want to win a James Beard Award in my grandparents' house. That's what I want to win, even though they have their favorites, just like everybody else. I think I could do it. I have a lot of work to do, but I think it could happen. I know it can happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. We're manifesting it.
Yeah,
okay. Sure. You just talked the whole time about manifestation. It's happening.
It's going to happen. It's just like, I'm not ready yet. I can feel it, like I know it's going to happen, but I'm just like, okay, I have to start maneuvering in that direction. Yeah. Which is cool, because I think I'm in a space to do that, to start the maneuver. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, and then I'll kind of start wrapping up. Mm-hmm. So, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? I know we kind of touched on this earlier, but...
Yeah, I mean, honestly... Legacy, I just want to be... My mom told me the other day, though, maybe I'm living my legacy. You know what I'm saying? My mom told me the other day, she was like, your grandparents will be proud. I'm like, that's the legacy I want to live. I want to... Yeah. All the negative things that have come from my ancestry, I just want to create a space where they have the potential to be changed toward the better. Right? My grandfather and my grandparents left me their house, but my grandmother died before my grandfather did. Yeah. And he was a hoarder. I mean, hoarder. And so cleaned out the house, and now I'm looking at this house, which most people would not see as anything because it still needs so much work. But I'm like, man, I had the opportunity to shift the legacy from... It was literally under a pile of trash, literally under a pile of trash, to now... It's changing lives. People come here. They have one of the best meals they've ever had. They feel love, and it's just a place of gathering, right? So, yeah. And I want to have a good family Thanksgiving there. You know what I mean? I want to be a gathering place for my family that is positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's really the legacy I want to leave. It's kind of personal, but I guess once I turn it into what I want it to be to win my James Beard Award, I'm like, okay, it'll be a little more public then, of course.
Yeah.
But that's the legacy I want to leave. It's not, she conquered the world or whatever. I am conquering the world in my own way. So yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. What about you? What you want for this podcast to do?
See, I think a lot of what you said, actually, when you said, I want this space to be a gathering space, that lit a light bulb in me, because when I started this, I told you I come from loving food, and I thought that was it. But what made me like food so much was we gathered around food. That was our centerpiece, you know? That was our centerpiece. And what I loved about that is, and it's funny because, you know, when you have like a nostalgia about something and it's like you can smell it, you can hear the sounds of it. For me, when I think about that gathering of, you know, us gathering as a family, I think about us talking. Because I remember I had an ex-partner of mine came to one of my family gatherings, like Christmas or something, and the one thing that he said that spoke out to him was like, you guys really just talk, like, and it's loud and it's boisterous, and y'all just really talk and enjoy each other's company. And for me, that's something I've always want to share and maybe leave on people, is that impression of I want people to come together and just feel each other's, you know, embrace each other, and whatever that looks like, right? Like, I don't know how cut and dry and how clear I see it right now, but that's what this kind of looks like. It's just us just coming together, talking, and whatever that looks like, right? But yeah, I like that you said that.
Yeah, girl. And you create a good, solid space, so yeah.
Thank you.
You'll do well.
So, where can people follow you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm on Instagram, TikTok a little bit. And I mean, I guess I'll start YouTube. I'm the Queen of Yum, you know, on all those platforms. So that's where you can find me. Okay. That's where you can find me. I'll be doing my thing. And if it speaks to you, follow. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Maybe your stuff will speak to me. Who knows?
Okay, can you close this with your famous line?
Oh. So, yeah, I don't even know where this came from, but I really don't. I was like, I need something to close, but, so you want to say one part of it and I say the other part?
Okay, so let's practice. Okay.
So it's here's to the yum.
Here's to the crown.
Cheers.
Cheers to the crown.
To the crown. Yeah.
Okay. I'll say the first part.
Okay, you gonna say here's to the yum?
Okay, yeah. All right. 1, 2, 3. Here's to the yum.
Cheers to the crown.